I think we probably never really faced the project exactly like this. Looking at an existing building of this scale, really on the edge of downtown, in you could say, a pocket of the city that's a bit of a missing link. For the most part, it was a huge warehouse space where mail was sorted behind the scenes. And so bringing that missing link into a different kind of life, I think, and using it to connect the city in new ways is something that we're often doing, but rarely with the kind of different layers that you get in this project. I spent a lot of my time growing up in the South, in Memphis and Houston. That's given me a real perspective on the kind of cities that those cities are, inevitably. Houston in particular is a place where, because there's not so much regulation in terms of zoning, strange juxtapositions can happen and are even welcomed. And I think that that's some of the positive juxtapositions that you can find that we're also trying to create between green spaces in downtown, between commerce and art, that we're injecting in the experience of going all around and through this building. One of the biggest, literally, problems about this building is its sheer scale. So you could fit 4 747s into it almost. And because it was built as a warehouse, it's also a kind of undifferentiated field of columns as far as you could see when you go into the space. I think when you look at a building like this building, it's a huge warehouse over 1,000 feet long with almost an undifferentiated facade, at least on the north side. And you might think, why preserve something like that? I think it was really visionary almost that Lovett, our client, decided to keep the building and saw in it the potential to create something that could be incredible, regardless of how you might think of the building at first glance. And I think the fact that they were able to get beyond thinking about that basic dichotomy of what's beautiful and what's ugly is really allowing them to make something truly unique in Houston. We treated the design of the building almost like a master plan, trying to create different zones within the building that we could define through a series of atriums. So there's 3 main holes cut in the building. Cutting these series of atriums into the building wasn't just about trying to bring light in, although of course it's about that, but it's also about trying to allow the city to come up and through the building, to kind of allow it to almost grab a hold of it as you can move up and through each of those atriums onto the roof, almost like a hook, hooking a fish. Hooking a fish is a totally random way to compare it to. Hooking a fish. One we call the theater atrium. It has an X-shaped stair that cascades up to the main rooftop. The middle atrium is a food hall, so the market atrium that I think will be one of the main attractors for people to come to this building day in and day out. Workers from downtown walking across the bayou and coming in. And we tried to make that space something that was really like a beacon, using stainless steel to create a set of kiosks that are sprinkled throughout this atrium, different scales and with different ways of sitting and eating, and also different ways of even preparing food that can reflect just how much diversity of food culture there really is in Houston, which is just amazing. And then the last is a co-working atrium that will be centered around workspace. So a series of workspaces that will also have a cascading stair where you can have meetings and work in a more casual way. And all of those spaces also connect to and are in a way activated by what's going to happen on the roof. The entire roof, which is almost 200,000 square feet, will be covered both with an outdoor public space, so really a park hovering above the Buffalo Bayou and looking out to downtown Houston. And then there'll also be a working farm. And it'll be activated by a number of restaurants, so there are 2 restaurant pavilions, as well as activity and other spaces where different performances and things can happen even on the roof. And then lastly, on the east side, there'll be a 5,500 person performance venue that'll be run by Live Nation. In fact, when we came to do the performance venue for Live Nation, we were in a way thought it was really resonant that the same architect had done the Astrodome, where so many different sports events but also concerts had taken place, and that now we were trying to make a similar place for things to happen in this building that he had also done. For the performance venue, we wanted to allow you to have different ways of experiencing the main event. So not just being in the main space, but also finding other pockets of space where you could drop back and experience it in a different way. The seating takes place on 3 levels. There's a main general admissions area, and then a tribune of seating that's stepped. But behind it and underneath it, there are a series of bars and other spaces that you can hang out and be more casual, almost like you're sitting under the bleachers at a football game.
Oh man, you want to hear something way messed up?
And it's that kind of different pop cultural references that we wanted to utilize to make spaces that are yours and that you discover and that you own precisely because they're pulled apart from the main space. You know, we're approaching the point at which this building will finally open, and the initial things we all sketched out with what could happen to the building are really starting to come together. But also one of the most exciting things is the whole site can have such a future. I think that there are incredible things that can still happen and will still happen all around the building. Currently, there's a series of open parking lots facing the south side of the building and looking out onto the Buffalo Bayou. I think there's new things that can come there, new potentials for living and also working, but also new ways that maybe the site can connect together with other parts of the city like the Bayou, and new ways to even get up to the roof. So I think we're really looking forward to that future in the years ahead too.